Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads. This is BROADScast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Welcome to BROADScast. Hello. Thank you for joining us today. Hi, Kim. Are you here?
I am.
Yay, you are here.
I'm just distracted with sounds of what I thought was going to be silence, but I hear crackling.
You can't hear it on camera, but I have my new Dana Decker.
You can't hear it on camera?
Oh, yeah. I mean, on the microphone. But I have my new Dana Decker candles.
Yeah.
Don't they smell so good?
They do smell good. It's like I feel like I'm in front of a fireplace a little bit.
Yes, it crackles because it's a wood wick. She actually patented it. And here's the thing. We're not making any money today on discussing the Dana Decker candles. I met her over the weekend at an event, a conference, and not really the weekend, Sunday to Tuesday. And I won the candles, $300 in beautiful smelling, delicious candles.
Thank you, Dana Decker. You just created like a nice little tongue twister, though. Dana Decker Woodwig patented. That was a lot right there. Right,
but you did quite nicely.
Dana Decker Woodwig patented.
So today we're getting our mindset on. We are getting in the flow, as they say. You ready to get in the flow?
I am ready to get in the flow.
I know you are. So Leigh Koechner is in the house.
Yeah.
Literally.
Hi.
In the house studio.
In the heart of Valencia.
Yeah, you schlepped all the way out here, didn't you?
I hauled, but to get here, and am just amazed at the metropolis that Valencia is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed. So thank you for making the trek.
I'm happy to be here, ladies. I've missed you too.
We missed you because you've been on the show before. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
So you were with us. Oh, gosh, that must have been a year ago. Over a year ago.
Yeah,
when we were in a radio studio.
Oh.
So if people should go back and listen to that episode, because what was cool is I think you had just finished school.
Yeah.
And so tell us.
Yeah, I went to spirit school.
Spirit school.
That's what I call it, spirit school. To get my master's in spiritual psychology. And it was an amazing 2-year program in Santa Monica where I learned how to love myself and forgive myself and be kind to myself. And when I did that, kind of my world shifted and got kinder and gentler and more beautiful. It's interesting how that works.
So do you think that we all have to go back to and get our masters?
I think everyone does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you don't have your masters, you aren't much.
But so we can't be nicer to ourselves if we
No, I'm
don't
sorry.
Get our
You have to have formal training
you
in
have
Santa
to
Monica.
spend $30,000 a year or whatever it is.
Or we could just come to one of your workshops. Are you still doing your workshops?
No, but maybe I'll start one right now. Right?
Yeah, because I can't afford a master's program.
No. But it took me getting there to learn those kind of easy tools that I'd never thought about before.
Was part of it that you committed to that process, that you bought in literally to the concept of making yourself stronger and healed, and that there was a different level of investment with you?
I went to the place because some gal gave me she said, I want to give you a free life coaching thing because I think you're inspirational on Facebook. And I was like, all right. And I went to it. And at the end, she said, I was going to bring you here to be a client, but I think you're supposed to go to the University of Santa Monica. And my body lit up in such a way that I was like, that's where I'm going. I didn't even know what the heck it was.
Right.
And I started that Friday. I think I was getting the that thing on Tuesday. And then I started on Friday super quick. And I forgot what I was going to say because I'm so connected to my spirituality. I can't
I wonder sometimes when you're that the fact that you were literally buying into a master's program, if that was a different level of awareness about what you were doing.
I went in not knowing what the heck it was going, but I went into it wanting to know 2 things. Who am I and why am I on the planet? And I learned both of those things, so I feel like it was successful for me. But what I found was cool in it was learning how much everything is inside of you. So everything that you want to tweak in your world and your life and your relationships all starts with you. Everything.
Right.
And as in my relationships, I have softened or stepped back or took a breath. I allowed the other people to do the same, and then you can meet in a new way. So it's been transformative in my relationships.
How is that? Not everybody is on that same path.
Right.
And how is that in your life when you show up with this transformation and they're not necessarily there? Did you feel any rejection of it?
Well, I got a lot of comments from people, people who are like, that's a croca, you know what? Or give me a break, that kind of stuff. But you just realize in life, you just do what you want to do, and who cares what other people think? I really don't, which is good for me. I enjoy myself, and I don't upset people. But if they think whatever, they don't like it, I'm like, right on, because you should think how you think. I'm with you. I don't know.
Was it hard to live in that when you felt that outside doubting?
It's not, and it's also not like you're kind of, I'm transforming, and then your partner's not, and you're like, what? But then you realize that as you shift and as you see yourself in a new way, really it's like you're changing your glasses, and it's changing the lens of how you see the world and other people. So when I start to change, naturally my family starts to change. Like when I soften, my kids used to kind of run from me because I was like a yeller. And as I've softened and been more present with them, they're allowed to shift into a new place. They don't have to run anymore from me. You know what I mean? They kind of organically
know
meet
more
me.
What you mean. I absolutely 100% know what you mean.
Yeah, so it's just like when you shift, actually everything around you shifts with you. And they don't even know. All of a sudden they're like, I kind of like Mom more than I used to. Or my husband's like, wow, I can actually have a conversation with Leigh. She's not cutting me off or telling me what to do or correcting me. But it's kind of subtle and happens over a period of time. Yeah.
Right. So speaking of your family and your husband, so you started this new 33-day mindfulness Facebook Live.
Mindful moments.
Mindful moments.
33 days straight. Every day at 11 a.m. California time. Mm-hmm. Is there any other time? Just kidding.
5 p.m.
Right. That's true.
That's a good time too.
Yeah, so what happened was I was literally on my kids' playground at school and got tapped on the shoulder, and a gal said, my husband's doing a documentary on mindfulness. I heard you went to spirit school, blah, blah, blah. I call it that. But she said...
Every time you say spirit school, I'm thinking as a spirit animal.
I know.
I don't know why.
And I go spirit school.
I know. You get some sort of a speech impediment, and I'm concerned about that. So, it was called the University of Santa Monica, but you get a master's in spiritual psychology, so I just call it spirit school for short.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But she said, I heard you went to that school. My husband's doing this documentary on mindfulness. Are you interested in being involved or, helping out? And I said, well, sure. She goes, let's have coffee. We sat for coffee, and he told me he wanted to raise money. And I said, let me go ask some rich folks that I knew. I just hung out with some in Malibu. Let me go ask them if they'll give you money. And they all said no. So then I was talking to him. I said, I have one more person to try. I'm doing this parenting thing on Jiyo app. It's Deepak Chopra's global wellbeing app. And I said, I'm sorry. I said,
you're getting tea delivered, just in case anyone's wondering. I just got tea delivered,
and I was trying to mouth thank you to the sweet little Lucy that brought it to me. Thank you, Lucy. So anyway, I said, I'm working with this guy named Poonacha, who's partners with Deepak Chopra. And I said, let me ask him if he's interested. So I just sent it to him. He didn't respond. And I told the guy, I'm going to ask him one more time. If he says no, I'm not asking any more people. I don't like to do this. It doesn't feel right. So he said, yeah, Deepak and I are interested in doing this. And I was like, oh. And so we had a meeting, and we've been moving forward. Right now we're in the middle of our Indiegogo campaign, the Mindfulness Movement film.
Right.
And we're raising money to bring the simple tool to everyone. It's kind of like, that movie that Al Gore did about climate change.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
We're wanting to do that with the mind change and just showing people how we are living from our spinning minds, and that you have the ability to stop it. It doesn't need to run you. And also when you're mindful, it just means that you're fully present in the moment with no judgment. Which sounds easy, right?
Oh,
but it's insane.
That's not where I went.
It's insane.
Yeah, I think talk about spirit school. I think something just came out of Kim.
Yes, Kim. Isn't it? It's crazy.
This is where we do our seance, Kim.
Yeah, we are doing a seance today, and we're going to end with light as a feather, stiff as a board. If it works, we will float you on two fingers. Ouija board, can you help me?
Sorry, go ahead.
So how did you go from being asked to do this project? I mean, first of all, you are such a connector, and you are such you spearhead. I can see it, and you and I are not each other's everyday life. I see you mostly on social media,
right? I can't,
but I can see that you are someone who's like, oh, this needs to happen, and then you make it happen. And so here you are, literally someone asks you to be involved and then you make the entire thing happen.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't happen without money.
Right.
I think it's hilarious that someone says, do you want to be involved? And the next thing you do is bring on Deepak Chopra.
Right? What happened? I forgot I knew him. Yeah. And
how do you forget?
It's right. It's insane, because if you would have asked me a few months ago, would you ever be involved in a documentary? I would probably say, I don't think so. Or mindfulness, I would say, that doesn't really mean anything to me, because that's not a word that I have worked with when I went to spirit school. And you know what? It's just not in my mind, mindfulness. So I said, the guy called me after I kind of connected them, and he said, well, what is your role in the film? And I got defensive in my head instantly, like, well, what do you think it should be? What are you talking about? I should be a good producer. And all this like chatter started in my head. And then I took a breath, because I think I practiced it without even knowing what it was called. In my life I have.
Right.
So I took a breath and I thought, wow, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to step up in a new way for yourself. And you're spinning with your old story of, I'm not good enough.
Right.
Like I have to prove myself. You don't have to, he didn't ask you to prove yourself. Shut your mind.
Right.
Think about what you want and answer it. So I took like 20 minutes and I thought about it. I tried to move a little bit from my head to my heart, which I do when I start spinning. It's like, I got to get out of here because that's screwing me up. And then I thought, I brought money, or I connect people. That's executive producer.
Yes.
So I'm going to say executive producer. And then I watched his trailer, and he's got a beautiful heart and a beautiful vision, and this is his passion, but he's also a really nice guy. And so he got some really mindful people to talk about it. And I was like, oh, I'll bring the humor and the connecting and the life and the kind of fun to it.
Right.
And so that's what I'm going to bring that to it. And I'd like to be on camera. I would like, because I really enjoy being on camera. That's why I put on lipstick today, hoping you guys were going to take a picture.
Yeah, we will.
We will, just for that.
Great.
Go to our Instagram page and see the beautiful Leigh Koechner.
What? But stop it. Don't stop. But really, I called him back and I said, I want to be executive producer. I want to bring some ideas and people in who have life, and I want to be on camera. And he said, okay. I was like, oh, wow. This being clear and asking for what you want works.
Right.
Yes.
Unless he listens to this and has second thoughts. Rob, don't tune in.
We were talking about that before we went live today, that Jackie was saying that she came back from this conference the last couple of days, and she said, like, we have to be clear about what we want in what we ask. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really hard for people to pull out that.
Especially.
What?
Women especially.
Yeah. But I think, we're so full of like the long story and the editorializing what we want and the I'm sorry's and the is it okay? And I don't mean to be we add all those extra layers to it that really convolute exactly what it is that we want, because there's that immediate fear that you had, which is I have to prove myself. Why am I so defensive? And someone's going to think that I'm pushy, or I'm overstepping my bounds,
or they're going to say, who the hell do you think you are to do this? Because you haven't done it before. Why would you ask for that?
Right.
So why wouldn't I?
There was an exercise during this conference where we had to turn to somebody that we don't know. Most of the people came by themselves. I was lucky enough to go with one of my best friends of over 20 years.
What was the conference?
It was called the Brilliant Event. I don't know if you know Carrie Murphy. But Allie Brown, who's an entrepreneur, and Dana Decker with her beautiful lifestyle, and just all these really powerful women. But what's that?
That's a Dana Decker Woodwick patented.
Exactly. So, but we were asked to turn to another person, and you talk to everybody there. So, I mean, there were 65 women. I probably could point out 30 by name at this point, which is amazing.
I'm impressed.
I can't do that in my own life where I'm like, what is her name?
Yes.
But
it was just my kid, and I only have one.
I think,
who are you?
Yeah.
Yes. I call him my dog's name. Yeah.
I know.
But why did you know people's name, 30 people's names, if you normally don't? What happened there that you knew their name?
The rest of my real life was not, I didn't have to pay my bills. I didn't have to raise my kids. I was really so much in the moment.
Yeah, you were mindful of what was happening. And
see my connection here?
Yeah.
But we had to, we turned to this other person who we had already been talking to, sitting at the same table, and told them what we see in them. And
in them, or in,
like, next to me was a woman named Sophie. And she has a YouTube channel. She's skilled in all these different areas, but she's not really sure. There was a lot of that, like people who have so many different amazing things, but they weren't sure where to kind of be clear about where they wanted to go. And so I was talking to her, and I saw so much in her, and I was explaining, and and she was, both of us like telling each other what we saw in each other after talking for maybe
how cool was it?
15 minutes. It was beautiful.
It's amazing.
And it was emotional.
It's emotional.
And so I think that, especially as women, maybe if we go out of our way to tell each other what we see in them,
oh my gosh,
they could then start to live that truth.
Yes.
As opposed to continuing to believe
our old story that we created when we were 7 years old.
That other people said, like, you can't do this or you can do that, or
I'm not good enough, or
right. I mean, this particular, I don't want to give too much information about her
give
life,
it all away, please. Tell everything.
She's from Argentina, and her dad was very much like, she loves to travel, and he's like, no, girls don't travel, and then sends his son on like a trip, to go and travel the world or whatever it was at 18 years old. And she's like, she's the one who loves to travel. What those messages say,
right?
How we grow up, what we start to believe.
Yeah.
So it's really, I don't care if you're 25
it's literally
or
like
45, like you can rewrite.
And you literally can say to that woman, here's what I see. And it can touch her so deeply because she hasn't seen that in herself. But if you see it, it's there. And then that can grow, just like you're saying, that she can be like, you think I'm clever, or you think I'm funny, or you think I'm...
I mean, she was this like radiant, like bright light in the world. You know what I mean? Like, how you meet some people and you're like, oh yes, you're meant to
shine.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you told her that and she was touched by it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I was very specific also, because I think, I have 7 brothers. I'm one of 13 kids. Like,
Holy
I have a
Toledo.
huge BS meter, and so I'm not like you're brilliant, da 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 da, like with nothing to back it up.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I told her the things
Specific things that
yes, and I think that that's what we need to do, because I sometimes see people who are like, "Oh, you're amazing," as my friend Christine and I would say, like. And it's just like, why am I amazing? And then you don't want to be that person. Like, tell me more.
I do. I like to hear more.
But I want. What is it specifically? What are the gifts that
cool?
you see in each other?
What's cool is too, when you think about that, each one of us are so unique that there's not one person on the planet, not one, that has the same design as you do on your thumb. There's not one who thinks the same way exactly. If you look at that purse, what we all would say about it. That's how you can have the greatest painters, or so many greats, because they're bringing what they're good at to it. It's like you can have so many podcasts because the people are doing what they're good at. So I do think it's such great feedback to say to people, do you want to know what I see in you? I mean, what a gift is that? That's like a frickin' verbal wrapped gift you can pass someone for no reason.
And I think it's more potent when it's a stranger, or when someone that doesn't have that same 15-year history and who has also bought into your same old story. I mean, when we're around our people for as long as we are, we tend to repeat.
And you have your role.
I mean, you do. I mean, because you know the background.
Yeah. And so you either, I mean, sometimes you can challenge. I mean, and I don't, it's not a negative, but I think that when you have a clear set of eyes, someone that doesn't know you, that has no preconceived notions, they have no history, that they can come in and they can say, this is quickly what I see. It touches you in such a different way.
Yes, it's
because your
wild.
friends and the people around you, they kind of forget sometimes some of those things, or you get so caught up in other conversations that you forget to highlight those particular moments that
but
really
I think with that that's exactly right. And I think with especially getting clarity, and I have 10 arms sticking out that I'm good at things, with 10 paths, which one should I walk on? It's literally knowing your strengths, knowing what you're good at, knowing what comes naturally for you.
Absolutely.
And lining that up with what makes your heart sing, what gets you so gosh darn excited. I remember I had this group, I had to do like a fundraiser for my school, and you had a party and all the proceeds from the people paid to come. And I remember it was a few days before, and I thought, oh, dang it, that party's in 3 days. I haven't done anything. So I threw it together super quick, and I just told everyone wear white. And I got a foot massage gal, and I did a girl did tarot cards. And I remember we had cucumber martinis, and it was all kind of like at night with little twilight lights around. It was real pretty. And I had everyone go around this little fire pit and stand up and share what their dream was. And I said, And I want you to embarrass yourself. I want you to feel uncomfortable. I want you to say something that we could possibly, you would think we might think, what a pipe dream, that could never come true.
Right.
I want it to be that grand. And we went around the circle, and I was flabbergasted at how women, they couldn't say anything. And then one woman started to cry, and she said, I've been taking care of everyone in my family for 11 years. I haven't once thought about myself. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, the good thing is there's 10 more people. Take a breath. Start allowing yourself. Before you're not leaving the circle till you say something. Don't mean to be a dick. Wipe those tears away. But I said, I hear you, but that's over. That's done. That's not happening anymore. So we're going to think about you, and I'm coming back to you. And she came back and said something that for her was no big deal, but that was really, that she wanted to start getting groups together to do the scrapbooking that she loves because it's something. And I was like, that's huge. That's about you and what you love. Right on. But everyone went around and shared, and it was unbelievable to see how women froze and felt lost when it came to them. And it was really beautiful. And anyway, so the night was whatever, and it carried on. We had fun. And then the next day I got emails from 3 women, and one of them said that was the best night of my life.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, you have no idea how you impact people.
Right.
Doing no matter what you're doing, you know what I mean? Or just because she got to be seen, how desperately, like you said, when you were giving compliments with that girl at that conference, you both probably cried because you were being seen, and it's so vulnerable and it's so real, and you feel so like you're seeing me. What do you see in me?
Right. Because
we're running so fast all the time. It's so
right.
It's so rare.
And I think in this climate, and I don't even want to just say political, but like this world, it feels a little bit icky that if we could just be a little more vulnerable, especially with other women, I think that would elevate the energy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm becoming like Leigh.
Yeah, you have become me.
Yes. Well, you and I have the same maiden name.
We just swapped Morgan.
Yes.
Right?
And both of our moms are named Janice.
It's so
Our
weird.
moms, we were both born from by Janice Morgan.
That's so weird.
Yeah, isn't it crazy?
Should we start dating or something?
I would love it.
I'm open.
And then
I'm sorry, Kim.
Well, she's going to be your affair.
Okay, that'll be our first threesome.
Then I would
Third
lose the
wheel is per
McDougal.
usual.
Our first
I'd lose the
threesome.
McDougal, and then I'd be Jackie Morgan.
Cute.
Oh, anyway.
Morgan.
Yeah, you're back with the tongue twister again. today.
Yes, I was going to say. You want to go back to the other one?
Morgan. Waka.
What?
No, we're not going to get married.
I had a thought and I just lost it. So continue. I was going to say something profound, and then you guys went off on the topic of threesomes, and I got very
vulnerability
confused.
and
Well, I can say something if I can pop in that with the thing that I'm doing right now, right? This 33-day thing.
Yes.
So I get asked to do this documentary, and I'm thinking, well, I'm executive producing, but mindfulness is not a huge part of my thing, but I'm executive producing this thing. And I thought, how can I make that for me more tangible? Because I'm not good with hearing lofty ideas. I'm not good with sitting quiet a lot and then hoping to bring that quietness into the world. I need to know stuff that I can hold in my hand, like a hammer,
right,
or a soft, fluffy thing. So, something. I need something that I can use in the moment, not remember back that time when I heard that one guy say that lofty thing. Right. That doesn't mean shit to me. And you know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. So
you can swear here.
I wasn't sure. I tried to suck it in when I said shit.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
You're good.
We say shit here.
So I thought, I'm going to figure this out with the people that I want to know about it, my Facebook community. I'm just going to figure it out every day with them for 33s during this campaign. And I picked the number 33 because it's my favorite number.
Right.
And because that's when Jesus died, and I like how he walked the earth with compassion and love and gave us a good example. And that's how old I was when I had my first kid and almost died myself. Charlie, lost my uterus. Remember that whole bled out business? And they say that if you do something for a month, it starts to help you have a new habit of it.
Right.
If you do it for over a month, even if it's a few days, it seals the deal even more. So I thought I'd like to seal the deal for myself. So I picked that number, 33. Wow. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable because I'm being authentic and vulnerable and sharing what's happening every day and trying to figure out mindfulness around it or with it, or how I didn't use it and this is what happened, or how I used it and this is what happened. And so it's something that I'm doing that's super easy,
right,
and fun for me,
You're great at it.
I'm having a great time.
Your energy on it is just so great. And I have to say, I was moved literally to tears when I thought you were so brave in starting it and setting your own intention. Your husband, I mean, everyone knows, is Dave Koechner. He's hilarious and wonderful and funny and all that. You guys have been married for a zillion years.
20 years. Holy 20.
20 or a zillion, one of them. But you set your intention on
to
that
connect
day one.
with him. Yeah. That my personal intention, just like I wanted everyone to set their thing, to pick the one thing that they wanted to work on, that they could put this kind of towards. And it was my relationship with my husband, who I have this story that I've been saying about him. I will never leave him. He holds my heart, and I'm with him till the day I die. And then I remember I went to get a Reiki thing recently, and the girl said, that's a story that you're saying, that you're living under this thought. But the reality is, you guys, he's not holding your heart. You guys aren't connected. Because I just told her kind of where we were. Mm-hmm. And she said, so you're saying this story, but your life's not matching that story.
Right.
So she said, why don't you set the story aside and start working on matching with him again? And she goes, and then once you're connected, make sure that that's still the right fit for you. And I started crying on my way home because I was like, how dare you give the idea that I'm not going to maybe be with Dave one day. And then I thought, well, wait a second. It woke me up. Like, I didn't take it as a victim, or I didn't take it as bad. I took it as, I do believe in divorce. And I do think that, and for me, the key is when you are walking with someone hand in hand and they walk with you, you stay, because you're still moving forward together.
Right.
Once someone sits down and you're still walking and you're dragging them in the chair and it's too heavy, you're no longer a fit. Right. You're not helping each other. You're not moving forward together. So I thought about it when I got to my driveway, and I thought, will Dave hold my hand, or has he sat down? And he holds my hand.
Right.
So what I'm in.
How did you find that out? Did you?
Well, I went into him crying, saying, this girl just told me that I should leave you if we're not getting the stuff together. What the hell are we doing? And he said, baby, we'll get the stuff together. Anytime I say, are you open to going to therapy? He's like, yes. Are you open if I make a love plan? Will you do it? He's like, yes. So I haven't done those things, but it is my intention here on air to actually type up my love plan before he comes home on Saturday morning.
Plan?
You know what it is? It's literally like this mindfulness business, right? Where you just go, I'm going to not beat myself up with it. I'm not going to do it all the time because it's too tiring.
Right.
I'm going to just baby step it.
Right.
That's what I'm doing with the 33 days, is just having more awareness. Just like working out, right? You just keep working out and you start to see changes. So it's like making a plan, like a workout schedule, but for my relationship. So it would say something like this, and maybe I'll just go home and listen to this, and this will be it. But it's literally...
We're glad we can help.
Thank you. You are bringing Dave and I back together, you two.
We're going to have a benefit concert, the whole thing.
It will be something like when our feet hit the floor, we both say, today I am committed to kindness with you. Or we write a little mantra and we hold each other's hands and look into each other's eyes and say something like, I have your back. Please help me be a better wife. Share with me openly as opposed to getting pissed off at me. Help me navigate how to be better for you and me to you. Let's take care of each other. And then maybe hugging twice a day for 2 minutes, because they say 2.
Sex?
Yeah. No,
I haven't even gotten there yet.
Kidding.
Profound.
Hugging. They said that if you do it for a certain amount of time, I'm going to say 2 minutes, but I like to make up facts because I can't remember actual times and stuff like that.
We'll go for it.
So let's pretend it's 2 minutes. It releases the pheromone, something.
Right.
It releases those, and there's a connection and a bond. Looking into each other's eyes, touching, just making little baby steps where we don't forget that we're together, and we don't forget that we love each other. Because it's so freaking easy.
Things that were sort of natural when you first got together. I remember like hugging my husband for 10 minutes, when he would be leaving the house and we were dating or whatever, and now
it's funny when I've noticed, and sorry to interrupt you, but like whenever I'm around you and Jeff and one of you leaves or leaves the room and you kiss each other, there's never like a moment that you don't, but you guys turn your face and you kiss. Like, it's not like a side kiss or like a half kiss. I mean, I've always noticed that when you kiss, you look each other in the eye.
kiss.
And I don't, you do. Yeah. I mean, I always thought that was very sweet. Like you see some people that, it's like
hugging him is hard because he's 6'4" and I'm 5'4".
Yeah.
And so I actually have started to sometimes, and I'm going to do it today now, when he gets home from work, I walk over to the stairs and I go on the steps.
So you can give him
I can give him a hug, like a
face-to-face
real
hug, chest to
because
chest.
nobody needs to hug somebody who's a foot taller. Like it's the most awkward, uncomfortable, and like you wonder how long you have to stand there, with your neck in that
his belly
position.
button.
Yeah. It's like, thank you for, hugging. I hugged your nipples. Now we can.
But isn't that sweet that she noticed that you kiss on the mouth every time and that touches her?
Yeah.
And then you're doing that without even thinking of it. But it is that little connection.
Right.
And that little sweetness.
But I believe everybody deserves that when they come and go. Like not that I do this with like.
You will be mouth kissing me before I leave today. The both of you will.
I want tongue, girl. But like my kids, I'm like, you don't have a parent come home where you don't go, oh, hey, acknowledge. Like it makes me crazy when you see people just come and go and nobody acknowledges their existence. Like we're family. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just look up and say, hello, how you doing? Or something.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I was watching Bill Maher, whatever his show is, Real Time.
Does he still have that?
Yeah, and he had this guest on that was he was a Google ethical analyst or something, and he was talking about, I'm going to ruin the name of his title, but he was hired by Google to research and to study the time that we spend online and the messages that were being sent through social media. And he was talking, and again, I'm going to ruin it. I have to go back and watch it again. But he was talking about how our brains have such a short level of attention span and how we need to be constantly, we're not present anymore. And he was talking about like how our minds are trained to now see things in flickers and these short, these one-offs that we can't comprehend long, comprehensive articles anymore. That, it has to be these quick, silly, nuanced little things that our brain, it only can take in so much. And I was thinking, our society in the last couple of years, we're so about the computer and the phone. And if we're not getting this constant, like he said, the second that the phone buzzes, you're like, oh wait, who wants me? Who's telling me something? Right. And so he's like, we're always
at the expense of the person who's right in front of you.
Yeah, and that's what he was saying, that there it's like this Pavlovian response that we have, that every time this comes, we're like, someone's going to tell me something nice or someone's going to tell me something bad, and so our body, we're all day long, we're like, good news, bad news, validation, not validation. And he said, think about what that does to ourselves over time, that we can't even engage in a 3-paragraph article. We don't have that capacity
before we had
anymore.
This in our lifetime, we didn't have computers, right? And we didn't have cell phones.
Right.
We had only magazines and books and stuff. So our brain was wired to digest information that way
in long form,
and evolving. You know what I mean? Like we have all evolved, and then now everything's way different for our kids' brains, and they're evolving and snapping and doing to what their life is, right? Whether it's good or bad, it just is what it is. And it's how can we not lose the I see who you are. Right. You're important to me. Because all we really need is we want to be seen and heard from our childhood till now. We want to know that we matter, right? And that our life means something.
Right.
And that is from looking at people and talking to them and touching them. And so that's the thing that I found the most interesting about this mindful business, when you think of the simplicity of that life is only happening right now, always.
Right.
So it's only happening right now.
Right.
So 5 minutes ago is in the past. The future doesn't exist. It's not. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we spend almost all of our time in both.
Right.
Holding on to old stories, spinning there and then worrying about what's coming up.
Depression and anxiety, right?
But all we really have is right now. So we're actually missing our lives. When you're not present, you're missing what's happening. It's crazy. And how multitasking just a few years back was a hot thing and cool.
Yeah.
And now it means you're doing everything half-assed and giving nothing, all of you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and think about how inauthentic we have become. So I used to be a quote unquote, mommy blogger. And I would, write about my kids and about parenting. I stopped doing that when I realized that my stories were becoming my kids' stories and that it wasn't my business to tell them. You know what I mean? Like it was no longer, it just didn't feel right. But that's an
interesting thing though.
Yeah. But I digress.
Yeah.
But, I found myself living in blog posts, like, oh, this is a good, and it was like everything that I was doing and everything that they were going through was potential material. And
oh yeah, so it shifted from sharing about your learnings to, as it's happening, this is going to be a good thing.
Yes.
This is going to be great on camera.
Yes. Yeah. And so,
yeah,
I think especially people who who are creative and we're all kind of fall into that category of able to
super hot creatives. Is that what I'm hearing
that
here?
was the one. Sizzling. But, people who are able to share our own stories, to help other people, like we all fall under that category in one way, shape or form. Right.
Yeah.
So do you find it hard sometimes to live? Are you thinking about like your mindfulness and what you're going to talk about? Like, or are you really living in the moment?
Most of the time I'm running around like a scattered too much all the time, back to back with all my kids and all the stuff and all the things that I want to do. But with this mindfulness business, I actually don't think about it until maybe 1 hour before I'm going to do it. So I could print out my outline of just what it's about and what might get a quote for it. Because what I found is that I like God or spirit or the energy that is greater than us. I love that everything's made of energy. That's all this is. And that there's just the idea that there's a little greater energy that's working all this magic. So I like to think that energy is going to provide me with what needs to be talked about. And then usually what happens is something pretty big happens before I go on. And I think I'm going to go talk about, today I mindfully brushed my teeth, which literally I was going fast. And then I was like, oh wait, this is a simple thing where I can get in the moment and feel my toothbrush. Seriously, I did that this morning. I've never done it before. I go really fast with my toothbrush. So I did it slow and I felt it. And I was like, oh, I had a mindful moment right there. Maybe I'll talk about brushing my teeth today. But something's going to happen between now and then. Or it could be something that I think about this or something that happens that's supposed to be said. So if I try and plan it, I made a list of things that I could talk about before I started this. I don't even know where that is. And I'm not going to look at it because I want to be mindful of what's in front of me at the moment and how it's affecting my life, because that's what the whole thing is.
It's interesting. I do speeches every once in a while, and I never prepare a speech because I feel like I'm preparing a speech for where I was at 3 weeks before I came to wherever it is that I'm going. And when I get there, I'm not feeling the same way I was 3 weeks ago. I mean, the message is usually the same because that's part of my core. And I always start my speeches with, please don't take my lack of speech preparation as a lack of intention about what I want to be doing today, because I want to be present. And then I just start rambling because I feel like when I'm in that moment and I'm present and something always happens, whether it's the day before, with something about my pickup, whether it was someone that I met that morning that said something, I'm like, oh my gosh. And that sends me down this whole other path. And people are usually more appreciative that I didn't stand up there and just read, because again, it was my old story. It was my old story.
Yeah.
And I feel bad. I mean, this is sort of, Jackie and I joke that when we prepare for our guests, that sometimes I do my reading, but I pull like the Larry King, that I really just want to be listening and present. And sometimes when I do my research, and I do research so I know who's coming, but I don't want to come up with whatever I'm talking about a couple days prior, because then I feel like I'm already thinking about the next question.
And I'm the opposite. I'm like, so last night when you had corn for dinner, and then I do way too much research.
That's so hilarious.
I think we have to. There are some people that can do each of our ways. I mean, neither way is wrong. And I still feel like I'm present when I'm researching, but if I've researched and I prepared, and it's just like when you're going to have a discussion with someone, I've got the whole conversation happened in my head already.
Right.
So that when I get to you, I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm answering for you. I'm preparing my answer, and I've totally stopped listening.
That's right.
So either I'm really lazy, or I'm really present. And sometimes I feel like
it can be both.
That's not what I was going to say. Sometimes I think
you're lazy and present.
Yeah.
Being present sounds like it's probably makes your life a lot more simple.
So simple.
And it feels less stressful in some ways stressful. Because and again, when I think about, like, I went wherever I was and I had this big, huge speech to all these district attorneys and senators, wherever I was, and I was intimidated, but I'm like, I started writing notes and I was like researching laws and I'm like, what am I doing?
Because your brain was spinning and freaking you out. But in reality.
And I was invited to this big thing, and I was like, this is a big deal. You were invited
because of your message and how you presented in the past.
Yes.
So you already have all that you need. but our brain holds us back and screws it up and makes it a bad experience, or, you know, makes it
And
worse.
I wanted to appear smart. And I wanted to be appear different than what the reason was that they brought me.
Right.
If that makes sense.
But you started to become inauthentic by trying to be somebody that you aren't.
Right.
Because you're not, people don't invite you because you're an expert. They invite you because of your experience. And I don't just mean, you know, the death of your brother, but all of it after, and all of the work that you have done. So everything that you need on that stage is already inside you.
Right. But as I
look at me, I'm becoming Leigh Morgan.
Oh my God, you look so different.
Ladies, I already knew this. So, but I'm saying that when I went into it, when you talked about being present, it was less stressful for me. I stopped with the expectation
100%.
And I was like, I'm just going to breathe and it's going to be what it is.
And I think that the thing that I just started, this 33-day thing, is going well because I don't freak myself out. I don't make it be anything. I just speak from my heart what was that moment. That's all. Right. And I did find, though, that when I got up and rambled and did whatever, it was a disservice to me. The first time I did it, right before I started, I did one. It was like 22 minutes. And a guy said, tuned in, but my mind got spinning because you were all over the place. And it was such a wonderful note. I was so grateful for it. So I wrote a thing that just says, intro, why I'm doing it, what mindfulness means, my story, my quote, and a prayer.
Right.
So that's it. And that all has to happen in 10 minutes.
Right.
So I have to be conscious of the other people's time.
Right.
Why, and remember why I'm doing it. And I'm not doing it to be funny. I'm not doing it to show what a great storyteller I am. I'm only talking about one moment and how it went well or didn't because of mindfulness.
Right.
Right.
And the simplicity of that has freed me up to frickin' enjoy it.
Well, and I think the other part too is trusting that you have the ability to do it. And I know from myself that when I start believing in myself differently than I did 2 weeks ago or a year ago, that it has freed me up to do some of those things and be more present, because I trust that what's coming out of my mouth is meant to come out of my mouth, and that it's not rhetoric, and that it's not me trying to prove myself or something. That there's a trust process that has to go on inside myself in order to do what I do, to stand up and what you do, to put yourself in a situation with Sophie, you know, in your conference, that's trust. I mean, it's a bizarre, it's a
surrender too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about trust for a second, because
are we gonna have a trust circle?
I hope so.
Trustful?
No, because you just said that. It was such a good point. And I love everything you're saying about, like, you know, trusting in yourself. But what happens if we meet somebody and we put trust in them and they break that trust? The thing is, I think sometimes we're so afraid of what will happen, and we live in a way that, oh my God, what if this happens? So I have to, like, and then but if it actually happened, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I like that when people say, yeah, what if this happened? And I go, let's go down that. What if my son's freaking out about wasp in the pool the other day? He couldn't enjoy the water. And I was like, what are you freaking out about? He's like, well, the wasp is going to it's going to get me. He didn't stutter. I don't know why I did. I don't know what just happened. But I was like, okay, so let's say it gets you, then what? He's like, then it could sting me. I go, okay, then it stings you, then what? He's like, it's going to hurt. I go, okay, then what? I'll pull it out and give you a piece of ice and we'll carry on. Like, you're going to miss your whole pool time right now because a wasp might sting you?
Right.
But that's how our minds work.
Right.
They screw us constantly out of the only moment that we have.
Right.
It's a
and
trip.
It's like what could happen is like a life ender, but if it actually happened is like an inconvenience. So maybe we do trust in a person.
Well,
and
course.
if they break that trust,
then you learn from it and you don't do that same thing again.
Right.
Like, I love when things go wrong. I love when I make the wrong decisions. I love when I fall. I love because that's where I learn. And we're only here to do that. And then share with other people so they don't have to fall in the same thing. Or maybe they do. But you know what I mean? It's like, what I'm finding is, like, all the stuff that I've been through. My mother was mentally ill and locked behind her bedroom door. My dad spanked me too hard, but now it would be called child abuse. Mm-hmm. And I was neglected and I ran wild. I did drugs and had sex with a lot of people. And, like, all these things that in the past I judged, I realized have made me empathetic and open-hearted and understanding as an adult. So I'm so grateful for them. So every time I learn and I fall, I'm like, wonder who I'm going to help with that. Because that was pretty, like, when I had to send my son to boarding school because things got so bad in our home and he was so out of control, nobody knew how to help him. And that broke my heart. And being a mother, that I couldn't take care of my son. I was like, who the hell am I? I can't even take care of my own kid. And it was so crushing. And then from that, it changed our lives, and it changed the way I look at being a mother and parenting. And I now am a resource for other people who are going through a hard time to tell them there's light, and it's brighter than I ever imagined. So,
right. And I love that you can put yourself out there in that you're not perfect. You know, we don't, you don't live this perfect family. You have 5 kids?
5, yeah.
5 kids.
And 3 dogs.
And a husband.
And a husband that I'm working on reconnecting with.
But, you know, is your son still in boarding school?
No, he was there for 2 years, did the program, and then he came back home and went to sophomore, junior, and just graduated senior from Providence High School in Burbank. Yeah. And he's going to CSUN.
That's exciting.
And he has a cute girlfriend, and he's 6'4.5", and he's darling and a nice guy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And that was what you needed and that he needed.
He needed to get that far away from me, so I quit doing everything for him and trying to make everything right and perfect and find the right school and find the right teachers and one of the play dates and all the doctors. And I had to I felt like I was carrying him around on a platter, and by the time he got 13, it was too heavy, and he didn't want to be carried, so he was kicking holes in walls. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And I had to set him, I don't know how far away Boise, Idaho is, but I had to set him there to step back, to let him live his life and learn and do it the way he needs to do it, and to let me realize I have all these other kids who haven't seen me as a mother without, because he was my first.
Right.
So he was always, my focus was on him. So I was like, oh, hi, kids. I'm your mom. Let me see. I'm sorry about a few things, and let's get to work on healing the the needs I haven't met and get rolling. So that 2 years, I focused on them and me and shifted kind of my parenting and my perspective. And so when he came home, we were all kind of on the same page. It was good. I implemented the program from the place into my home. So when he came home, everybody was on the same kind of consequence reward system.
And how does that work?
So I have chore charts up of things that we fight about that they have to do, so we don't have to fight about them anymore. And then things I expect them to do, like pick up their room, whatever. And they put their little dots on that they've done them. And if they haven't, they still have to do them later. Like when they come home, they still have to make their bed, and they get 5 healthy habit cards, which are do 25 push-ups, say something kind to someone in the family, write an email to an extended family member. They're all positive things, but they take time and they hate to do them. So they would rather just make their bed than do that. But now, that's when they're younger, they'll do that. Now when they're older, I'm, tweaking everything. Charlie's about to move out, but Margot's, a high school and slamming her door and doesn't like me or really want to talk much, which I'm not minding right now. Okay, stay in that slam door. You stay in there.
You have 3 other younger ones.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm going with the nice ones. You stay in there, be mad, brooding. But so I have to tweak it with her and kind of make new rules because she doesn't do that chore chart business. But, now it has to be, you get money for doing the things I expect. You take it out if you don't do it. And I'll take your phone if things get bad. So let's keep it together. But they know everything really clearly.
Right.
So then we're not fighting anymore. And if they fight, they get more healthy habit cards because they were the one who chose for that to happen.
Fight. Mm-hmm.
You know the rules. Do it. You don't. You get the cards. I don't want to hear about it. You're in charge of how your day goes, not me. Yeah.
I love it.
It's nice.
You could be selling this.
I know.
This is like a little product.
Yeah. A happy family kit. I've written part of the manual and I have the little cards, but I just haven't crossed over. So anybody out there in production.
I like the positive consequence.
Yeah.
I mean, a consequence even has such a negative tone to it, but I like the fact that you've added a positive component to whatever they're.
Yeah. Right. And there are rewards as well.
The rewards, it's money basically. It's their allowance every Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is that a significant amount of money?
They get 25 cents per dot. So usually it can go anywhere from, if they don't do a lot, it could go from 5 to 20 or, whatever.
Right.
They rarely get the 20 though, because they don't do them all.
Right. I mean, do we though?
No.
Do you have that big of a family that you get those many emails sent out?
What do you mean?
Oh, you said they have to send emails to
there's like 100 different cards they can choose from. So I can't, they'll get that one occasionally.
Oh, got it.
And then my family
will choose them, or do you just pick them at random?
I'm supposed to just pull them randomly, but I'm like, nobody picked up the dog poop today, so I'll look for that one and give it to them. Or my car's a mess, clean out mom's van.
Nice.
Or or rub mom's back. That's one of them.
Oh, I like that one.
That's a funny one too when they're mad at me.
That's when they pound on you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, why don't you do this one last when you've calmed down a little bit? Because I'd like it to be gentle for quite a while.
I'm telling you, my kids give the best foot rubs.
How sweet is that?
2 of them. The other one's like, I'm good. I don't need money.
I know. It's funny when they're not motivated by money.
Right.
You have to find that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, getting back to the mindfulness, I think that, we all have kids and I only have my one, but being present with him, and my role keeps changing every day because now my son is going into high school and he's becoming such a different person. And like when you were talking about Charlie, turning 13, like I'm really trying to let my son emerge as to the young man he's supposed to be. But I also feel like I still am in charge and I still have a responsibility to tweak and manipulate little things and to educate him. And I'm really struggling with how to let him become who he wants to be. And then also still having my place as his mother and someone who might know a little bit better and wanting to make sure that the outcomes meet.
It's funny, the outcomes, because the outcomes need to be what that kid needs to go through to learn the lesson that kid needs to learn, not meaning your son, that kid, but any kid. And it's literally where I'm getting to the point with my kids where they tell me something and I just listen, or I try to. That's something I'm working on because I like to give advice or say stuff, but nobody wants to hear it unless they're seeking it. So you just piss people off constantly.
Right.
So I'm trying to keep my mouth shut, but she'll tell me something and I'll listen to her. I'll say, how do you feel about it? Well, I'm mad. And I go, I can understand why you'd be mad. And then I pause. And then I say, would you like tools for the next time that happens? She says, no. And I said, would you like help navigating how you're feeling mad? She goes, no. I go, all right. So just to be clear, you just want me to hear you right now. Like I'm working on it because I want to do I want to guide them in a loving way that fits them, and they're all so different.
Yeah, and that part I'm struggling, and it's funny because I counsel teens in my everyday life, but I struggle with that with my own son because I have a hard time separating out my parent role. And I, like last night, my son's in this new thing called House Party, where he gets on. Do you know about House Party? Okay, so House phone. Party. House Party is like, it's a group chat.
How do I
group chat room
play or something?
Well, when Sam was he was texting one night, he was very funny. We were watching a TV show and he was buzz, and I was like, dude, you told me you were going to come and spend time with me. Get off your phone. Buzz. He's like, oh, well, we're planning a party. Well, it was this house party thing. So I was thinking, he's like, oh, we're going to go to someone's house so I thought I was stupid or something. But it's like a FaceTime chat room with multiple kids. It's like what Uvu used to be, but it's more hip and current, I guess. So this is Sam's new thing, and he goes into his room and he gets on FaceTime. And so while he was in his room on the whatever house party, I was reading his text messages on his computer because he knows that that's my job as I periodically check. And I'm frustrated when I read the text exchanges because I want my son to be a different person,
You know what's funny about that? Just if I could jump in real quick. I don't read my kids' text messages. I don't read their emails. I don't read their diaries. My personal belief is I don't get involved in your private business unless you give me a reason to, or I find out something and I need to intervene, then I will step in. Right. But I'm trying to give them the freedom to be themselves. And if they are a jerk or if they are something, and it's not too bad or, pornographic or, bad, that they learn the natural consequences of that behavior from their friends and their peers, as opposed to me snooping around saying, I read that and you're a jerk.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So last night I didn't say anything, but I went to bed going, okay, how am I going to implement? How do I need to change my conversation so that I keep reminding him of certain things about being a good friend and being a good listener so that I can use what I've learned over here. But I also feel like it's my responsibility to start modeling different behavior, to start listening differently. But I now have information that I need. I mean, sneaky or not.
Let's pretend that it was something like
it was a perfect example. There was a girl that he's been good friends with for a long time, and she had made a comment in her thing that he said that you're my best friend, and she said, but you don't really put any effort in. I'm always the one putting the effort in to talk to you. And that has been kind of like a struggle with my son and I, that he's kind of aloof. And here's this girl who he says is his best friend makes this comment, and he said, oh, I guess then we're not going to talk anymore. I'm like, oh, why doesn't my son have the skills to be able? And then she was apologizing to him. She apologized.
Like, I don't want to lose you. But what was beautiful about that exchange, and what you could even use that as an example, because he knows you read it, so it wouldn't be like he thinks you're snooping.
Right.
To say, you know what I think is cool is how different we are, how different men and women are at what we need, and all the emotional and the touching and the affirmation and all that. They just need to see our face and have sex or maybe a handhold, you know what I mean?
Right,
Or whatever.
right.
They're just different how we're wired.
Right.
And she was saying, I would like more from you. And he was like, I don't know what to do with that. And she goes, forget it then.
Yeah.
But what's so beautiful is the next conversation is, how could I show up for you that would feel better as my best friend because I care that much about you?
Yeah.
And then she could say, maybe you would just wave to me in the hall and
Right.
sit by me in lunch. And he said, I can do that. You know what I mean? It's like teaching that communication to help him navigate the stuff that separates us.
But this is where like I am looking at it and going, how can I teach my son? Because I do that. We talk about that, but and then I'm thinking I need to then let my son be who he is. He's shy. He struggles with some of those things. He feels insecure about some things. And so this is the natural progression.
Yeah.
He's still making connections.
That's right.
But he struggles with, and I see it in his,
And maybe he'll learn when he loses that best friend.
and we've talked about this.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like the natural consequences are the best instead of the moving mouths.
Yeah. And that's what we've talked
or
about.
asking him how you, as his mom, can show up for him,
Right.
to help him navigate women and the complicated needs.
And we've talked about this in general, but it's just interesting when I'm a fly on the
line,
wall.
though. How can I show up for you?
Yeah, and
Because instead what we do with being not mindful, instead of hearing them and saying, wow, I can hear that I'm not showing up right, so let's talk about what that would look like for you and see if I can do what you need. Instead, we shut down or we get defensive. We say, well, you don't do this for me. And then, the wall gets bigger as opposed to, I don't know how to, and I say things to Dave too a lot. I say things and I can see him get mad instantly or get defensive instantly. And I've lately been going, I'm not your enemy.
Right.
I want to just talk with you. But that's what our relationship has become, kind of defensive where we're not feeling safe with each other. So it's like literally having to deconstruct back to, how can I take care of you? How can I show up for you?
Right. Well, and that's the conversations that I've been having with Sam. And I've always thought this since he was born, as I'm raising somebody's husband, right? Like I'm teaching my son how to be a good human, how to be a good man, to be a good partner. And I'm like, oh, wait, is this who I am in a relationship? It's weird how you kind of project some of your stuff with your kids.
Oh, a lot.
And so I'm like, God, I wonder if I did this before. And because this is still my conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so when my son sometimes comes to me and he's aloof and he's indifferent, I'm like, dude, how am I reacting to you? What is my reaction? Because he gets frustrated with me. And I said, well, imagine we're mirroring each other right now. And so how can I be better at helping you be more open or be whatever? I mean, now I'm like, making up a conversation, but I said to him, I want you to have strong relationships if that's important to you. If you
I know, but here's what's interesting. You're saying, I want for you.
Yeah.
So they're your wants you are projecting on him. They're not his.
Right.
So it's like he is where he needs to be right now.
Right.
And what I love too is that everybody's doing the best that they can where they are with what they know. Everybody.
Right.
So every time we judge another person, not your son, but just in life in general, or any women, or anytime we judge them, we have no frickin' idea. I just went out with a gal who looks beautiful and looks like this, and she's a great writer, and she just told me a year ago that she was so depressed, she was contemplating suicide.
Right.
And you look at her, I wouldn't picture that in a million years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even having that information, I would have even been more tender with her. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I didn't know that kind of till she dropped me off at the end. I was just normal and talking and having a good time, which is, I guess, what she wanted. But I thought, wow, I wish I would have had that information so I could have, I don't know. I just think that there's so much going on with everyone all the time, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. And what we want for them is not their business.
And I agree with you. I think that though, when it comes to raising kids, though, we have that responsibility of kind of guiding them a little bit. And there are some things that my son at 13, he just doesn't know because he hasn't been taught that. But you didn't know
either at 13, and you had to kind of go through it, But but
I'm sure someone said to me.
One thing that you just said, though, is so interesting to me, and it's indicative of us all, I believe, as women. How can I be there for you to make you more blah, blah, blah? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
it's like,
and again, I'm taking everything out of my conversations are much more profound
but
with him.
But I'm not talking about like you doing something wrong. I'm saying it's an example of what we do in our marriages, in our friendships, in our, like, it's like, how can I help you make my life more comfortable?
How can I help you be the person I want you to be?
But it goes back to what we said. No, I know, but it goes back to what we said in the beginning, though, being clear and setting a clear expectation. When I say to my son, I have an expectation that when we have a conversation, you're going to look me in the eye. You're going to not walk around the room when I'm talking, to be present with me. How can I help you with that? Because that's a need that I have. And so, and that may be not how I say it again, but there is, how can I help you
meet my needs?
But it's even like in that moment, like Margot is always on her phone. So also I need to talk to you. She's like, And I say, walk over here, put your phone face down on the table and look me in the eyeballs. I need 2 minutes of your time.
Right.
And then she'll stay there for a minute. And then I'll say, seriously, get over here right now. Look at my eyeballs. And then I get what I need.
Right.
And I know she heard me. And then we can go about our business. I think there's something interesting when parents say, I want to raise a good husband, a good father, and all these things. It's like, that's like over here, kind of big, lofty thing that you hope for.
Right.
But I think the simplicity, and I guess with this mindfulness too, is how can I show up to show him he matters? And that's it. Because when you know you matter, you have self-worth. And when you have self-worth, you treat people kindly because you feel okay about yourself.
Right.
So it's that simplicity of, when I raise a person who knows that they're loved and know they matter, they will be all the things that I hope for them one day. If I'm disconnected and doing my own shit and swimming in my own pool,
right,
they're drowning. They have to go out and have sex with a lot of people and do a lot of drugs to find out who they are. They have to fill all their holes to find love. It's tiring.
Really? Yeah.
But you know, it's like, if I focus on, I see you just where you are.
Right.
And you're going through the stuff, which I know a lot more than you by now, by my 50s. I know a lot more that could help you, but you don't need to hear it and you don't want to hear it because you need to feel it and go through it. And then one day you'll be able to feel the same way I feel. But they have to fall. And yeah.
It's just, you're absolutely right. And it goes right back to what you said before about being in the moment, not being in the past or thinking forward. It's just, that's where that like nervousness comes of like, oh, I have to impart so many things before he goes out. And like,
because his success is I think sometimes we take a reflection on you.
Yeah. And I don't, and this is not a comment about me being single, but I'm on my own here. Like I don't have anybody to bounce these things off to remind me of what my role is. And I'm in that, and that's a pressurized cooker. And there's a lot
in your brain.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting that it's just in your brain?
Completely.
It'd be cool for you to try this mindfulness thing with me because literally I'm not trying to do it all day.
Right.
All day I'm normal. And I'm irrational and I'm screaming and I'm running too fast. And then I have a moment where I stop and I go, I don't like how I feel. This isn't going well.
Right.
Let me get present and connect with the person and stop my stories and my needs and my projections and all that.
Right.
And then things become clear and easier instead of us running on our hamster wheel with our thoughts, that run our lives. And it's so tiring. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're tired.
And I appreciate the reminder. I think that it's easy to get so caught up in the spinning wheel. So I think, if there's any other takeaway, you keep using the word mindful. I know you keep saying mindful business.
Well, I'm learning it with you.
As you practice it.
Yeah. It's not something that I'm like the guru at. I'm trying to figure it out because my name's attached to this beautiful project and I need to know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love that it's a practice. It's not like something you perfect. It's like we're all human beings. And so I have to ask you, how can we, Kim and Jackie, support you in your project, in your life? Like, how can we show up for you, Leigh Koechner?
I love that so much. If you shared any of the mindful videos that you liked with your audience or on your own Facebook page, or if you go to our Indiegogo, the Mindfulness Movement film, you can donate there and you can read all about it. And Deepak Chopra's offered some cool stuff for people who give money, like certain,
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Like
I can't remember what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like signed books or a meeting or a Skype call.
Oh, wow.
Or all kinds of stuff. And people think that he's funding it. They're like, my friend said, he makes $8 million a year. I don't made that number up, but he makes millions of dollars a year. I'm not going to give him money for his film. I was like, no, it's our film. He's just being kind and saying this is meaningful. He's not giving us the money for it.
Right.
So it's like, so feel free to donate because I think it'd be cool if we brought this little tool, even if, imagine if our world leaders use that instead of getting mad or Twitter happy or, do you know what I mean? That they actually paused and let their stories and their spinning go and got present. Then they could actually start hearing each other and work together.
Right.
And
what
if
levels. We, as the Americans used it instead of reacting to everything. Like, we can't necessarily control these leaders and ask them to be or expect them to be more mindful. but we also in just how we digest what is out there.
Yeah.
And it can be very overwhelming, and you could look at like, what kind of world am I leaving for my children, and and you're not in the moment. And so I think this is really great for coping.
Yeah. And my husband likes to watch CNN nonstop, and he gets angry, and his veins come out in his neck, and he's all mad and stomping around and Trump this and that. And I said to him, would you do as much like meditation as you do CNN to balance it out? Because the energy is really heavy. And I also said, like, you are causing yourself bodily harm with stress and the high blood pressure and your heart rate.
Yeah.
That tension and all of that stuff because of guys doing something that's going to do it whether you get mad or not. Be kind to yourself and your body. Think of a new way that you can be productive instead of angry, because it's eating you alive and making me more distant, right? That's part of our repellent. So we have to, that would be part that'll be in my love game plan.
Well, I love that. We get to be part of your love game plan.
You're welcome, Dave Koechner.
Hi, baby.
Well, the beauty of our podcast is that we get to take as much time as we want muddling through some of these topics and issues. So thank you, Leigh, for spending so much time here in the metropolis of Santa Clarita.
Santa Clarita.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is really important, and it's really simple. And I don't care if you're from the school of, if you went to spirit school yourself or spirit school, or you're like, that's phooey, just give it a try.
Well, what's cool about it is it's nothing to do with religion or spirituality. It's just focusing on the present moment. And that stops your spinning and gets you in your life. So it's that. It's like brushing your teeth, keeps your teeth clean. Mindfulness can keep your brain clean and get the clutter out and stop your spinning and beating yourself up and missing it.
Right. Well, awesome. I know that you've opened my mind.
Whoop, whoop.
And I thank you for sharing your brilliance.
Thank you for having me.
All right, people. So, you should go and check out Leigh's Mindful Moments.
Go to my Facebook page, Leigh Koechner, Koechner.
And that's
my
just
videos
your personal
are there.
profile, correct?
That's my public page.
Okay.
Good. And my videos are housed there, and I do them for 33 days live.
Yes,
at
and they can go back and start at day one.
Start at day one, or jump in either.
Yeah, you can jump in at day 6 or whatever, right?
And then the link to the movie and that's on there, because I saw that yesterday. And then we'll make sure that we put that on our.
We'll put all of it. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
We'll try to embed some of those videos maybe, and people can check them out on our page as well.
Thank you, babe.
So if you're liking what you hear, head on over to iTunes and subscribe, people, because your support is everything.
And we don't have Deepak Chopra supporting our show.
I'll call him. So. I'll make a call for you guys. We'll get him
we're going to get Deepak on now. Yeah. No, but and I've noticed a lot of recently on iTunes some reviews and ratings, and thank you so much for taking a minute. I mean, you're already going on Amazon and like reviewing that, toilet paper that you ordered. So like, why not go on to iTunes and just do a little rate and review if there's something you like, or let us know what you'd love to hear, because we're here for you. And that's it. We'll talk to you next week.
I'm just letting you go. Yeah,
like,
I love
what
it.
What else is there?
Peace out, people.
Peace out.
You are listening to BROADScast. For more from the Broads, head to BROADScast.com.